If you're anything like most women in corporate, you've believed this lie your entire career. You believe that in order to be promoted, you need to work long hours, say yes to everything, and prove that you're ready. I've been there and I felt this. I know what it's like to work until 2 a.m. I know what it's like to say yes to projects and no to life. And I know what it's like to burn out. I also know that this style of work isn't sustainable and it's actually not needed to excel in a corporate environment. For those who don't know me, I'm Ali Phillips. I'm an executive leader. I'm a recent mum and founder of Sage, a career accelerator program to help more women into leadership roles. This is video one of a 6-part video series in which I'm going to share with you the most practical and helpful tools and tips that helped me move from manager to executive leadership without burning out and without sacrificing time with my family. In this episode, I'm going to share with you 3 easy to implement tools that you can start using today to help build by far the number one leadership skill required, and that's mastering your time. All right, so before we get into it, I want to take you through the career acceleration pyramid. And this pyramid is a framework that captures all of the different skills that are required to thrive in a corporate environment, particularly for women. This is based on my own experience, based on my own career. It is based on work that I've done with different mentors, and it is also based on feedback that I've had from other executive leaders. So at the very bottom of the pyramid, we have to learn how to manage ourselves first. We cannot thrive. We cannot move into leadership. We cannot succeed unless we know really how to manage ourselves. And what I'm talking about there is learning how to manage your time. It's learning how to prioritize the work that you need to do. And it's knowing how to set boundaries and hold those boundaries and maintain those boundaries. But it's also knowing what your values are, what your strengths are, and in what type of role you will most thrive. Then once you know how to manage yourself and know how to make better decisions for yourself, it's then around building your impact. And that's all around learning to self-advocate. It's about mastering your comms and making sure that people understand you and your comms, anything that you say lands with impact. And it's also about knowing how to give structure to your information so people can absorb it really well. Then we're talking about building influence, so starting to really build out the ripple effects of the work that you're doing. And that includes things like working your network, like really knowing how to build a network at work. It's learning how to influence outcomes, and this is particularly hard to do and a great skill that is needed, but it's hard to do if you actually don't have a team to lead. It is much harder to influence people who don't report into you. So knowing how to have that skill is really, really important to thrive in corporate. And then also to manage stakeholders. And then the final bit, the peak of the pyramid, is around self-mastery. And this is all that inner work, that mindset work, which doesn't stop. This is work that you will do time and time and time again. This is on managing that imposter syndrome, which always comes up. It's building self-belief. It's making sure that you build your high-performance mindset. So you can see here that like time management, time mastery, it forms the foundation of the pyramid. You have to have that right before you can move up, before you can move into more senior leadership. You need to have those basics right. And I think people just seem to forget about that. So that's why we're starting with that today. And before I go into it, I thought I would just introduce you to me. So the reason that I am giving you this information is based on my experience myself. And I'm a commercial director and executive leader in a multi-billion-dollar company. So I do hold quite a senior position that I'm very, very proud of. I've been promoted 4 times in the last 4 years. In the past, I have managed a budget of $1 billion, which is very, very significant. I've launched new business operating models with a senior team of 50 plus. So I have built new cultures and new systems within an organization. But not only have I had incredible success within my corporate career, I've also faced big challenges personally that I have worked through that can give me experiences that can then help others learn and grow. So I moved from Australia to Ireland when I was 6 months pregnant. Would I recommend it? Not sure, but it was a challenge, and it was something that I've learnt and grown through. And I'm now mum of a 16-month-old and founder of a program called Sage, which is a career accelerator program for women, because I'm very passionate about getting other women into leadership positions. So enough about me. Why is learning how to manage your time and time mastery, if you will, important? And I already showed it to you, right? In terms of if we look at the pyramid, it's right at the bottom. It's that foundational level. But realistically, as you become more senior, you have more responsibility and much less time. And so you've got 2 options. You can either work longer hours to maintain your impact, or you can boost your effectiveness and get more done in less. And I know which option I would much rather prefer. So the reality is, as you grow in leadership, you're going to have more responsibility. And unless you learn how to manage your time and learn how to use your time as effectively as possible, you do risk burnout. And that's why this is such an important component to get right first. Like, you cannot skip this step. And I remember when I was moving into general management, I spoke to my C-suite member at the time, and I said to him, like, I'm not sure if I want to do this because it's just going to be more pressure and it's going to be more time away from my family and more time away from home, and work-life balance is really important to me. I remember he just said to me, Ali, the more senior you go, the more in charge of your calendar you become. The reality is you just need to be more effective with your time. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that the more senior you go, the more hours you need to work. And that's not true. Yes, there is more pressure. Yes, you need to learn. You have more things that you need to balance. You have more priorities that you need to shuffle, but you're still doing it in the same amount of time. You're just being much more effective with every hour in your day. And that's why having this basic fundamental skill is so, so, so important. And I can also say, after becoming a mum, that's even more important. So I'm sure parents out there can all appreciate that. And now on top of this, there is a reality that we do need to face, which is this: action doesn't always equal progress. And I think people think that just because they're doing actions or they're ticking things off their to-do list, that they're being productive. But they have to remember that unless you're doing the important things, unless you're acting on the things that have the most impact, it's possible that you're going nowhere. And this is one of the core principles that underpins what I teach within my career acceleration program. It's not just about doing good work or doing more work. You need to ensure that you are doing the right work. You need to make sure that you are communicating that work. You need to ensure that you're building visibility for yourself. And these are all the types of things that I teach within SAGE, my 12-week program for women. So I want to go through 3 time sucks and 3 different tools that you can use in order to antidote each of those time sucks. So time suck number 1 is tiny to-do dopamine hits. And we all know what these are, right? It's the emails that you get, it's the Slack messages, it's the small, tiny things on your to-do list. And every time you tick them off, or every time you respond to an email or a Slack message, you feel like you're doing something and you feel like you're making progress. And it's a little tiny dopamine hit. It's actually addictive. But these all actually suck away your time. And they're called small rocks. Like they're tiny, tiny rocks that actually don't move the needle, rather than focusing on your big rocks, your boulders, the most important things, the most impactful things that have the biggest impact to the work that you're doing and how you are and how you're perceived in the business. So tiny to-do dopamine hits are easily the biggest time suck. And this is a quote that I hear from people that I work with all the time. Like, I feel like I've been so busy, but I've got nothing done. And that is a sentiment that a lot of people walk away from work feeling, and they feel like they've been doing things all day, but they've actually made no progress and they've got nothing done. And it is because they're focusing on these tiny, small rocks that actually just suck away all your time. So the antidote to this is what I call the 3 MITs, the 3 most important tasks. And it's actually really, really simple. All you have to do is ask yourself this one question at the start of every day. What are the 3 most important things to do today? That's it. You just write that question down, and then you write down your answer to that question, what those 3 things are. So write down your 3 most important things. Work through them one by one, starting from the most important. Don't start anything else until you finish that first one, and then move on to the next. So write them down, work through them one by one, and don't start one until you finish the last. And the other thing that I would say about this, there's this sort of concept called eat the frog, which is basically do the worst thing first. Like the frog is the thing that you don't want to do the most, or it's the yucky thing that you want to leave to the end of the day. But the more you procrastinate something, the bigger you make it seem like a bigger deal in your mind, and you make it seem like something that you never want to do. So you're always better off to just do that thing first, eat the frog, and make that the first MIT that you do that day. And then if you want to level up further, what you can do is actually ask yourself, what are the 3 projects to be aware of this week? So asking yourself, what are the 3 most important things to do today is a great way to get control of just what are the things that what do you need to do today? But you also want to have your mind set on the things that are coming up this week, the things that might be important for you this week, the things that you don't want to forget about. And so ask yourself this at the start of each day. And then also just ask yourself, what are 3 projects to be aware of this week? What else do I need to just be cognizant of? What else do I make sure I need to make sure I don't lose track of? And where you end up is what I recommend to people is having something that looks like this, that has you've got your today, what are my most important 3 things to do today on your left-hand side? And then what are the 3 things that I need to do this week? What are the 3 priorities that I need to know of this week on your right-hand side? And here's an example of one that I would have filled out for a week, a day of the week, maybe a year or so ago. And the 3 most important things that I had to get done that day was I had to read the product roadmap that my team had sent me and send them feedback. I had to create a skeleton deck for a personalization strategy that I was working on. And I had to identify other general managers to engage and book in via their EAs. And that was just 3 things that I had to get done that day. Then in terms of this week, I had to know that I had a Steerco update coming up. I had to build a workshop. I had to run a workshop on personalization strategy. So therefore I had to make sure that I was thinking about the agenda for that. And I also had development plans from my team due. So I wanted to remind them about that. But just taking 5-10 minutes to write this down. And I do recommend writing things down because we are goal-seeking organisms. And when we write things down, we are much more likely to get them done. Which is taking the 5-10 minutes to write these down helps give you so much clarity in your day and actually make sure that you get through all the things that you need to get through. And when I was on maternity leave and when I was finding I was really overwhelmed with everything that I had to get done around the house or even just the admin done for our lives, this was the one thing that I would implement. What are the 3 most important things to do today? And I would just get them done. So look, if you're finding you're being distracted by a little dopamine hits, I recommend this. Now, time suck number 2 is open timelines. Have you ever felt like you have worked on a project and it's just taken you so much longer than it should have? Or have you ever sat in a meeting where it's gone for 3 hours and you've thought, I reckon we can get this done in 2? Like, when we give ourselves open timelines, we leave room for wasting time. And it's based on this thing called Parkinson's law, which basically is defined by the fact that work will expand to fill the time that you give it. If you give something 3 hours, it's going to take you 3 hours. If you give yourself 1 hour, it will take you 1 hour. Work will expand to fill the time that we give it. And we need to basically be more realistic with how long something is going to take and time box our time so that we are restricting how much time we give something and reduce the wasted effort. So here's Parkinson's law. And you can kind of see that basically there is like an optimal time where effort and productivity peak at an optimal time limit, after which giving more time leads to wasted effort and reduced efficiency. So you can see over here, if I'm giving this much time, I'm actually really using low effort. But if I'm giving this time over here, I'm going to do my peak amount of effort and I'm going to get that work done in the most effective way. So the antidote to this time suck is time boxing and self-set deadlines. So what you need to do there is basically for any sort of like big project or task that you have, you need to pick a deadline and publicly commit to it. And this is for if you haven't been given a deadline, like say to your boss, hey, I'm going to send it to you by this date, or say to your team, I'm going to have this done by this date. Publicly commit to a deadline because it gives you something to work towards. Then block time in your calendar to get it done. And I'll go into that, what I mean by that in a minute. Chunk work into 30 to 90 minute segments. Like don't just leave 3 hours or 8 hours blocked out on your calendar to get one thing done. Like chunk it down into 30 to 90 minute blocks and work out for that big project. I'm going to chunk it down into these five blocks of work and put those into your calendar. And then in those moments, turn on white noise, set a timer, and do your focus work. Like it's really important that when you are in those time boxes, that you are dedicating your focus to that specific project or task. So what I mean by time boxing, this is where you plan out your day by batching like tasks together and blocking out time in your diary. So it starts to look something like this. You'll have like colored blocks where you're doing certain bits of work and you've blocked it all into your calendar. And this is now using your calendar as a to-do list rather than a piece of paper. So you chunk down your work and you block it into your calendar so that your week is planned out. Now, I have a couple of tips on this. One is only block out 70% of your day because all new things will always come up. And this does depend on how senior you are. Like the more senior you are, you'll need to leave more room in your calendar. And the less senior you are, you may be able to have more of your calendar planned up. Use colors to identify how you spend your time. So using different colors for different tasks just helps you like look back at it and go, oh, I've spent most of my time in analysis or most of my time in meetings, whatever it is. And then build in time to read or answer emails in batches. I always recommend for people to do this in batches, not to like answer emails throughout the day, not to look at your Slack notifications all through the day. And what this does is that it helps you be more productive and more effective with your time, but you do just need to make sure that you've actually chunked it into your calendar, which you can see that I've done here. And the third time suck is constant distraction. So I've already kind of spoken about this in terms of telling people to answer their emails, like not throughout the day, but in batches, and same for Slack notifications. But every time you get a little notification beep, and that's on your phone or on your laptop, it distracts you and it takes your mind away from what you are focusing on. And it can happen so subconsciously, we don't even realize it. Like for instance, in the morning, if I have my phone in the same room as me, I'm instantly distracted. But if it's in a different room, I am much more present with my family. And so I keep it in a different room until I go to work. And there's actually some research that has shown, it's called the cost of interrupted work. It actually showed that every time people would be distracted from a task, it could take on average 23 minutes and 15 minutes to get back on track. Now that is on average, so it's not going to be that every time, and it's sometimes going to be lower, sometimes it's going to be longer, but it can take up to that long to get back on track on average. And so distractions cost you so much time. So the antidote to distractions, Pomodoros and do not disturb. So the Pomodoro technique was developed by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s, and it was based on the tomato kitchen timer that people had in their kitchens. But basically what he found was that there is an ideal amount of time for which we can like really truly focus for. Now this might have changed given the world we live in now, but regardless, this still works for me. And 25 minutes of focus is the ideal time period where we can focus on a task and still be productive without wasting time. So what you do, you set a timer for 25 minutes, you do deep focused work. So you put on white noise and you do deep focused work. And then after the 25 minutes, you have a 5-minute break and you repeat that 3 times and then you give yourself a 30-minute break. Why 25 minutes? So it's not too long. It avoids you from procrastinating and avoids you from getting distracted. It's also not too short. It ensures that you can actually stay focused. And why the breaks? Like knowing that you have a break helps you stay focused on the one task. And it really helps to prevent any mental fatigue. Like if you're working on something for too long, you will go into mental fatigue and you will stop being productive in that time. But the key during this is to make sure that you have in your focus time, you have do not disturb on, you silence your notifications, and you're really focusing on that one job at hand. So where that lands us, after this video, what I'd like you to do is start implementing these 5 new habits on a daily basis, because every time you use these, every time you start to use these tools, you will increase your effectiveness, you'll be much more productive, and you will be much more in control of your time. So your 5 different habits that I would like you to start. First is write down your 3 MITs every morning. What are the 3 most important things for you to do that day? Time box them into your calendar. I want you to set clear deadlines for yourself, even if you're creating them. I want you to turn off your notifications during work time, and I want you to use Pomodoro sprints to focus and rest. All right, now, if you found that helpful today, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Ali Phillips on LinkedIn, and please like and subscribe to this channel because I will have more of this type of content coming your way. Now that you know how to use your time most effectively, tomorrow's video, I'm going to share with you how you can make sure that your message lands with impact and you're communicating things so leadership actually hear them. It is the one underrated skill, like so many people do not have in the corporate environment, and communication, it is so, so important.